necessary things on.
Believe the lie, so everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't wanna fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Hey, so we were in the discussion of taxes and not paying. So another example, which really ticks me off, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but work with me on this. Social Security tax. Okay.
Yeah, they tax it.
They tax Social Security, but they only tax it up to, I think they're up to $135,000 of income. So if you make everything above, say, $135,000, you don't pay any tax on that. You don't pay anything on it.
No, wait a minute. There's two things that sound alike. You only pay in Social Security on your earnings up to like $130,000. So if you make $4 million this year, some rich movie star,
you pay on only $130,000.
Right. The rest of it is free of FICA tax.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how about earnings while you're, quote, retired and collecting Social Security?
You're still paying taxes.
You're paying taxes on what the government gives you in Social Security. So that's different than any kind of welfare benefit where they don't tax those benefits.
Right. But I'm still back at the thing of somebody making, let's forget the $400 million. Let's just say $4 million. Let's say $1 million. Okay. If I make $130,000, the government is going to take, let's just say, to make it easy on people, $100,000. So they're going to take $130,000. That's 13%, basically.
Okay.
Okay, 13%. If I make $1 million, it's how much? It's 1.3%.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, as a percent of your total income.
Percent of my total income. Okay, if I make $10 million, it's 0.13%.
Okay. So, whereas federal income tax is graduated, right? You get into new charts the wealthier you are. FICA tax, the Social Security, drops down. The wealthier pay a lower percent. Wow. See, and I knew all those facts, but I didn't think of it in those terms. But you're right. Wow. Yeah. You know, how did we go from turnpikes to talking about tax charts?
Because it all comes back to the same thing. It's taxes.
Right. And I think what you were getting at is, you know, like I think Rush Limbaugh said, whatever you tax, you suppress. Whatever you subsidize, you get more of. And so it makes no sense to tax income because you're discouraging people from making income.
See, here's my thing. If you're going to tax equally, but tax fairly.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody and it's the same with somebody that's making $10,000 a year. Okay. I don't think somebody making $10,000 a year should pay any less than somebody making $10 million a year.
Yeah. Now that would
percentage wise.
That would kind of be what we call flat tax. One rate.
One rate, exactly. Because that person, especially when that person down here has got all these other perks and freebies that we're adding. So ultimately, what you end up having is the person that's making $10,000, or let's say $20,000. Nobody's making $10,000. Yeah, they may be, but that's a very rare case. Okay, but let's say somebody's making $10,000 a year with all of the welfare and social benefits and free medical and free this and free that and everything. They're probably, the equivalent is probably about $35,000 a year. Okay. And then you've got the family over here, guy that's making, say, $35,000 a year, and they're getting their butts taxed off over here.
Right.
Struggling to feed these 2 children and buy a car or pay for a car or a house or apartment and rent and so forth and so on. So there's this inequality, okay?
Very much.
Then you've got the millionaire over here who, on their Social Security or self-employment tax, they're now making, $500,000 a year, but they're paying the same percentage of Social Security as the person that's making $100,000 a year. They're getting to keep that, everything above $130,000. 5 times, they're making 5 times, but they're keeping 4 times to themselves.
Exactly.
They're keeping basically $400,000. Well, not that much, but $40,000. Well, let's say $40,000 they get to keep to themselves. That this person, equivalent-wise is not. So you got that, and then you got these deductions and this and this and this and this and this. So there is an inequality there. The problem is the inequality is not down at the lower end, and it's not at the higher end. The inequality is there in that middle.
Sure
That's
is.
what everybody's always talking about, the middle class, and the middle class truly is getting messed over. And not only that, now they've, under the Obama administration, they came back in and they started, it might have actually happened under Bush, I can't remember exactly when it happened, but they went back. You used to not pay taxes on your Social Security.
Yeah, I know it.
Now, they somehow worked it out so you're paying taxes on your Social Security. So they took it once during your earning year.
And then they give it back to you, tax it again.
Tax it again as income. It's a double taxation.
It really is.
It's unconstitutional.
Yeah, but I must say,
for somebody to say, well, I'm on a fixed income, does not mean they are poor. I'm just sick of what I'm hearing about that we should treat retired people as some kind of special thing. When when I'm raising a family,
your fixed income may be $200,000
exactly.
a year. Yeah, exactly.
Back 11 years ago when I was running Rick Santorum's presidential campaign here in Oklahoma, one of the things came out in the debates that just was a slam dunk that helped us, because Mitt Romney released his taxes, and it showed, he was making money by having his money work for him, like you were talking about in the pre-show. You got to go to Facebook, catch the pre-show. Okay. And where Santorum, as a lawyer, was basically doing service for his clients, and he was paying a net 30% income tax.
I remember that, yeah.
And they asked him to release his taxes. He says, well, next time
I'm back home, I will. It's on my computer. I use TurboTax. And, whereas Mitt Romney has a whole staff of accountants doing his. And I was talking to a dentist one time. He says, I voted for Santorum, and I'll tell you why. He said, when he said, I do my own taxes on TurboTax, this dentist said, I can relate to that, man. I can't relate to Mitt Romney. He says, Santorum gets me, because he lives like me. He's raising a family.
Yeah, the whole class warfare thing is messed up. It's messed up. And people have got to quit fighting this class warfare.
Yeah.
Because, here's what's bad. The other thing I want to discuss on this, okay? If you're fighting the class warfare, you are fighting a war to keep you and your children, your family, from ever climbing the ladder. Because you're basically setting things up to keep that ceiling there. The rich protect themselves. So let's say Biden, Obama's, and so forth. It's almost set up, Dave, that the only way you can climb into that strata is to be an athlete an entertainer, or a sweepstakes winner.
Yeah, I was going to say lottery's in there somewhere.
Lottery sweepstakes, yeah. Because to jump that hurdle, there is a certain limit, a certain level where you, and for some reason my mic is not registering. Hello, test. I'm sorry, but my mic is not. Oh, you know what?
The cough button.
Oh my goodness, it wasn't on. Hopefully they're picking me.
Yeah.
I'm talking loud enough. Oh boy,
You know what?
Not good. Okay.
Was I on?
Yeah,
you
you've
picked
been
it
on the whole time. There we go.
I think this was fair to have you off,
Yeah, because I've had you off all the rest of the weeks, several weeks. Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to go there. No, okay.
Class warfare.
Yeah, class warfare. But, where were we? Yeah, the ceiling to set everything up. Okay. So, unless you hit this windfall, it's very, very difficult to climb into that level where the wealthy live, because they have it set up to stop you. So your Bidens, your Obamas, your you name them, Pelosi and her gang, all basically the government elite, your Hollywood elite, all of these so-called elites have it set up to keep themselves elite and you not elite.
Sure.
And the tax code is one way they're able to keep you unelite.
Yeah.
Because you have to break through this ceiling. And they try to make you think it's because you're a woman, because you're black, you're this and that. No, that's not it. It's a socioeconomic barrier, and only the smartest people can break. And it takes a lot of work. It's really hard. I mean, I find it hard. I'm not there, people. I'm with you still. I'm with you. And I've got some kids that I think can get there. They're smart enough to get there if they don't mess up. And I've got friends and people that I see that are able to get there. But even with them, there's pitfalls along the way. And it takes a lot of smarts and a lot of hard work. But it's like the government is continually working to undercut it.
Oh, yeah.
They're continually working to find ways to stop, to keep that little exclusive club. And it's not about race. Again, let me try to repeat. It's not about race. It's not about sex. It's not about national origin. Not about religion. I don't care if you're Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, you name it. It's not about that. It's about who you are, who you know, and who likes you and doesn't like you.
And I got to say, in theory, we have social safety nets where those who are making plenty pay in so that everybody has enough, right, to take care of the least little bit. But then we have the lottery, which is actually the opposite of the social net, safety net, because the lottery is funded primarily by people who are poor and stupid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Largent said it's a tax on dumb people, the lottery is.
It's true.
And you take from all these people who really don't have the money to it, and a lot of them are addicted to gambling, and then you make one person wealthy, and you tax the heck out of his earnings before he even gets a check cut.
That's true.
So it's the opposite of
in Oklahoma, 50% of it is gone.
Yeah.
Because between federal and state taxes, over 50% is gone.
Yeah, so it's just stupid. You know, again, we were talking about toll turnpikes, and we got to this, but it is true about how government looks at wealth, and they're suppressing the earning rather than the consuming.
Yeah, I think maybe God wanted us to talk about.
Yeah, hey, it's tax weekend.
The larger issue,
right?
Because it is a larger issue, the whole tax issue, and Oklahoma I believe, Oklahoma could flourish like Texas. maybe greater than Texas.
See,
if we got our tax issues correct, if we got it right.
I think in Oklahoma, we ought to have our general election the first Tuesday after April 15th. After people have to pay their taxes. Anyway.
Yeah. But no, seriously. But this is something that's really near and dear to me because I've seen it, the game. Years ago, God, I believe God showed me this, how the greatest way for me to keep your children from competing with mine, and this is what's been done. I mean, trust me on this is what they're doing. This is the game that's being played on you, especially you ignorant black folks out there and Hispanics and Asians, whatever you are. If you're ignorant enough to buy this is, but it seems to work so well in the black community.
Okay.
Others aren't buying it as much, if at all.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
But the black community just buys it like nobody's business. Okay. It's the greatest thing out there and they're just buying it up. No, the greatest and easiest way for me to keep your kids from competing with mine is for me to convince you that your kids can't succeed because this guy over here won't let them. Yeah. So, but don't worry about it because I will take care of you.
We have programs for you.
You don't have to compete because I will give you enough to subside.
Just stay on the plantation.
Subsistence. I will give you a subsistence so you don't have to compete. Your kids are taken care of and you don't worry about those mean white folks.
Yeah.
And so what do? Oh, great. Yes, yes, Mr. Man. Yes, Mr. Charlie. Yeah. And so you start taking the man's stuff. Now, all you have to do what I say. You just sign here and do this. And when I say jump, you ask how high, vote how I tell you. Yeah. And whenever those other black people get loose every now and then, they decide they want to get out and don't want to accept it, you keep them in line.
That's right.
You keep them in line. And once you keep them in line, I'll take care of you.
Do you use terms like, if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black? Is that really what we're getting
That might be.
That's about as racist as it gets.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's worked. It's worked ever since the 60s. That's when things started happening. I remember in college. In fact, there was about a week or 2 week period at my student newspaper, the University Daily at Texas Tech. I had this ongoing daily editorial feud with the
even back then you were doing this stuff.
Oh yeah, with the entertainment writer about the movie Superfly. I was really into Superfly. I loved that movie. And Superfly basically exposed a lot of the corruption in the black community working with white politicians and white mobsters. This is when the black movement was pretty pure.
Yeah.
They were calling out black preachers, black politicians, working with white crooks, basically, and white crooked politicians and all to keep black people down. Back when black people actually had some moral gumption in the black community and saw what was going on. And so, anyway, but I would have this discussion with this writer. But that's what was happening during these black exploitation. Shaft, Superfly, across 110th Street, some of the movies that they had, and I was really into that. But what's funny, Coffee was one of them, and what they would do in those days, all of the movies were about these corrupt black politicians working with corrupt white politicians who were all Democrats in those days in the hood in those areas, and also preachers, the ministers, black ministers were basically corrupted.
Yeah,
nothing's changed. Yeah. The only difference was back in those days in those films they were exposing it.
Yep.
Somewhere in the mid 70s, something happened, and they dampened that whole deal, and they shut that down. Hollywood, they just shut that whole message down. Jesse Jackson, believe it or not, he had a song out, Operation Push. Their big thing was, I am somebody. They had a whole song. Remember that? I am somebody. It was trying to give black youth the message that I am somebody. That quit thinking I'm nobody, pride, and lift yourself up. We can do this, da 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 da. And next thing you know, Jesse's son gets a brewery in Chicago. I think it's a Budweiser brewery, by the way. No, I don't know if it is. But anyway, and different things start happening, and all of a sudden, the movies no longer show these corrupt white politicians, corrupt preachers, corrupt black politicians working with the Democrats. All of a sudden, Ronald Reagan was the enemy. Yeah. The Republicans were the enemy. Yeah. Everything changed.
Help me out here, because I came along about 8 years after you. One of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies is Distinguished Gentleman, where he plays Jefferson Johnson, and he gets elected because he has the same last name as a famous politician. That's not the narrative you're talking about.
No, that's a whole different. Yeah, that was like 20 years later.
Well, no, it's a great movie. I just wonder if the narrative is similar.
No, not really, because him and he actually came after Richard Pryor even came out with a movie earlier where he I think he was nobody. Like they said a lot, none of the above. It was vote for none of the above, and he was like none of the above or something like that. Yeah, and he ended up getting elected like that. So, I mean, that was kind of a transition from the early on where they were really exposing what was going on in the black community, the corruption that these people, the preachers and the politicians were being bought to where we are today.
Yeah, but I think there are similarities. And, you guys are all going to check out the movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, because the party who was part of the Democrat Party expected him to fall in line. And when he didn't fall in line with the white liberals took him out or tried to. And that's a very common narrative.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it was a little different message, but it didn't deal so much with the corruption. It was just dealing with how they operate. It was a little bit of a different message. Yeah. I mean, we're talking pure corruption. We're talking killing and drug dealing and it was the other movie, those black exploitation movies as they were called. They were very seedy, down in the dirt films,
But I think Clarence Thomas summed it up in a beautiful line. He said, "It is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who deign to think for themselves." Because that's what the liberals tried to do to him. And it's all about keeping that black man in line.
Right. But as far as the community, we're going back to the community, it was just, that's the whole thinking. And as far as trying to compete with socially, economically and everything.
Okay, yeah, the business and commerce.
And
yeah.
That's the, I don't want to say inbreeding, but more the conditioning, the mindset that has been developed into the black community over the years by this liberal white mind. The black community, what was it, the hive mind that on Star Trek and these science fiction movies, they talk about the hive mind where it's a collective mind. The thinking, it's all the same. Like you touch one black person and boom. A great example, moving into a more current, I'm sorry, we're just going to leave Oklahoma. I think you get the turnpike thing. I think but let's go to Tennessee. These two people, these two state representatives.
Oh, yeah,
from Tennessee,
that disrupted the legislature.
They disrupted, got kicked out, and now the Republicans caved and allowed them back in.
I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yes. It's that same thing that the black community has somehow failed to understand that these guys are nothing more than hucksters.
Thugs. Yeah.
Well, worse than that, they're hucksters. They're just common con men. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw the video. There's video that's come out. The one guy who was it 4 years ago, has his haircut. He's clean shaven. He went to a white Ivy League like school, just clean cut with that, and he was campaigning for some student office, and most of the students are white. Mm-hmm. And so he's speaking very proper, very nice, and very educated, and how he wants to be a voice of reason to Republicans and Democrats, and he's not this or that. And then they show him now, and he's the guy that's on the floor of the Tennessee legislature, sounding like Malcolm X.
Oh yeah.
With his afro, and he's got his little Van Dyke beard and all. And man, I said, come on. And everybody, even the way, and he's a cheap he's a cheap imitation. He's a cheap imitation of Obama, who's already a cheap imitation of something, Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there and thinking, oh my goodness, the black community, how far you have fallen to buy this crap. Yeah. This is pure crap mixed with puke. I mean, this is how bad it is.
But what I want to get at here is it happened again. A bunch of conservatives knuckled under.
Caved.
For fear that somebody's going to call them a racist. Yeah. And you just got to get over it. I like our friend Rhonda. She says, every time they call me a racist, I call them a pedophile. I just say, let's just throw out words, You want to do it? We'll do that. You got to not buckle under.
You can't.
And you know who usually buckles under? Is the Chamber of Commerce class. The executive businessmen, the proper white Republican business, scared to death that somebody's going to call them.
What are you so afraid of?
Yeah.
What are you so afraid of?
Yeah, the word means nothing anymore.
Yeah. Somebody calls you racist, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
But
prove it.
They voted correctly based on the recent incidences, and then somebody called them racist, and, oh, yeah, you're right, we can't do that. God, it just drives me nuts to see this happen.
You know what? I can't get past your word incidences.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Incidents.
But what about the plural of an incident?
No, there's an incident, and then there are incidents.
Oh, you're right. All right.
Incidences.
All right.
I just have to
Thank
do
you,
that.
Dr. Huff. There we go. Professor Huff.
Incidences.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like strategery.
Yes.
What's the strategery for the rest of the show here?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But I've got another
Friday afternoon, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this, because we are. Oh, man. No, seriously, listen. I have to be careful, okay, because I may go off. Mm-hmm. I have to, as this brother once said, I have to possess the vessel. Mm-hmm. I have to possess my vessel here, because if I don't, I may just go off and start spouting words that I haven't used in 50 years.
I like how Glenn Beck always put it.
These guys really have pushed my button.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, we're talking Major League, Bush League. I mean, these guys are not even junior varsity, and the Tennessee legislature bowed to them.
Yeah.
These guys are as amateur and as backbenchers as they come, and the Tennessee legislature buckled, and bowed under to these guys.
I guarantee you they're going to be 10 times the problems they were, because they're inoculated.
And not only in Tennessee, we're talking nationally. Mm-hmm. This sets the stage.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, you better not. Our state legislature, you better not ever do this.
Okay, we had an incident. Black woman legislature. Yes, I'm going to call you a woman, because that's your birth certificate. She refers to an it.
Okay.
Maurice Turner from Oklahoma City.
And what are her
liberal.
pronouns?
Huh? Yeah. And she...
Piece of...
Okay, so a bunch of transgenders stormed the Capitol. They're throwing fits and everything. And one of them assaults a highway patrolman assigned security at the Capitol. And then fled, and she kept him locked in her office. And she was an accessory after the fact. And so they stripped her of all committee assignments, almost expelled her. Now, we technically have not had an expulsion from the House ever, because as Majority Floor Leader John Eccles tells me, we're not even sure constitutionally we can in Oklahoma's constitution. Right. But nonetheless, at least we did that, and at least our leadership is standing strong on it.
Good.
Yeah. But anyway.
If you need anybody, if you need a black face to your white crime, because that's what they'll call it. No, seriously, listen, you cannot yield. You cannot buckle. It's time to stand up. As some say, man up. It's time to man up. People, we cannot, as believers, as Republicans, as conservatives, as whatever, if you're a man, man up. If you're a woman, woman up. On the transgender thing, women, we need you. We need you. Men can't fight this fight, okay? It's up to women to call out that these aren't women, okay? It's like black people needed to stand up and say, sorry, Rachel Dolezal is not black, okay? Right. I mean, it's not up for white people to say, this is not a black person. It's up to black people to say, this is not a black person. Yeah. This is a white person in blackface. It's up to white women to stand up and say, this is not a woman. The attorney, the Surgeon General, this is not a woman, okay? This person, this swimmer, as Riley Gaines is saying, it's not a woman, okay? Women need to step up and be counted.
Yeah. There is a related story in Nashville. Now, the whole Nashville thing is about when a transgender off his rocker, her rocker, it was actually a biological woman, shot up a school she went to, killing 3 little kids. Little kids.
And 3 innocent teachers.
Right. 3, professionals working there in their 60s. And the crazy thing, all of this is because of what happened in the legislature is the reason why we had to do sanctions on those lawmakers who were unruly, violating grossly the legislative rules.
First of all, what happened there was tantamount to what happened on January 6th.
This was, it was an insurrection because they literally took over the chamber of the lawmakers.
Right.
Okay. So there's a new media darling today, a florist in Nashville, who made a big deal in a press conference. The media's running with it because a Republican group ordered some floral decorations for an event. And this florist rejected it, but didn't do so quietly. Called and said, we will never do work for you as long as you refuse to fix the gun laws. Okay? Now,
okay, wait a minute. The florist wouldn't do it unless they fix the gun laws.
Yes, I will not provide floral and decoration service for your events, and then called on others, all kinds of contractors, service providers nationally, refused to do any work for them.
Okay.
Until they fix the gun laws.
Okay.
Now, up until just this last January, who held the House? Pelosi. Who still holds the Senate? Schumer. Who still resides in the White House? Biden. If they wanted to fix the gun laws, they had the opportunity then. Schumer still has the opportunity to do now. They don't want to fix the gun laws. They want to keep the issue.
Well, yeah, but to me it's simpler than that.
What?
Okay, click, dial, fine. I guarantee you there's Christian and gun-loving florists around.
Oh, sure there are.
So
Sure.
It should never been an issue. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, but the media is just making hay of this. They're going to blow it up. And I'm just saying, the Republicans...
I know, but the way to handle that is, see, this is what... I don't know why Republicans are so stupid. I mean, honestly, what you do, you find a florist that will do it. You start finding florists and you find providers that will do the job.
I know.
And then you let the media come and photograph when the stuff is delivered and show, oh, wow, this is more beautiful than the last people.
Yeah.
I mean, start doing that and then wait for these other people to start attacking. And then you say, oh, look how violent these people are. You're against the gun laws, but look at the violence. It's coming from that side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you fight this stuff. You start showing the hypocrisy on the other side. We're not fighting with our brains.
Right. And I would turn around and say, Republicans do not do business with the Democrats until they fix the transgender doping and testosterone treatments and whatever else has led this rash of transgenders to be shooting up schools and banks.
Yeah, you're right. And here's something that still puzzles me, okay? In the 90s, the big thing was to ban all of these Eastern Bloc athletes because...
Doping.
Well, yeah, but mainly because they were using male hormones.
Right,
They were injecting male hormones.
Yeah.
And now you've got actual males with the male hormones running against women.
Yeah.
They need to go apologize and find all of those women and give them their gold medals back.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, if I were a Ukrainian, because Ukrainians were known for, they were like probably leading the pack of the testosterone-laden women, they need to rise up and say, Zelensky, if you want a real fight on your hand, just go back to the Olympic Committee and say, we demand all of our gold medals back.
Well, yeah, and really, if Mark McGuire would just say, well, I used to be a woman, I'm now identified as a man, I need Andrew testosterone, because that's why they've stripped him of all of his honors, is because he was using androgel at a time when it wasn't regulated. Right. In Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, so, they're so two-faced. This stuff is so...
But the point I'm getting at here is the gun issue. If Democrats are not happy with it, you have to ask why, while they still have the Senate and can call up a vote anytime they want to, they don't. They don't want to fix it. They want to keep the issue to beat Republicans over the head with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But see, what the Republicans need to do, which is what Newsmax has done, what Tucker has done and others have done, they had I saw this whole ad, it held a string of the shootings. So I think the last 7 or 8 shootings, every one was a transsexual. If you look at every last one of these was a transsexual.
Yeah.
Well, hey, wait a minute. You're trying to say it's these right wing neo-Nazis. This is no. We've got a problem here. It's not the guns. It's these sex changes that's causing the problem. If you really want to stop something, stop this.
Yeah.
And why don't I hear you? And why are these people not having press conferences? A picture of all of these shooters and saying, you know why? For the same reason that the Tennessee legislature lets these people back in, because they're chicken.
Yep. Because
they're afraid. They're afraid of the transsexual lobby. Calling them bad, evil people.
Yeah, it's so true. And we've just got to fix this.
In fact, I just saw something earlier today that even in Nashville or in the whole country music scene, there's a division now. You've got Kid Rock and Travis Tritt and several of them that are, coming out against this whole thing of the transsexual shows with the children and all of this stuff that's going on. And of course, the Budweiser. Well, but you got Reba and, what's her name? Shania Twain and several of these people. And Kelsey, not Kelsey Grant, what's her? Kelsey Ballerina. They're all now on the side of the transsexuals. And they're coming out and trying to say that this stuff isn't really happening. This isn't real. That there's children aren't being this and that. And I said, what are you watching or what are you not watching?
Yeah.
There's there's a pattern here. All of those entertainers that are pro-gay, pro-transsexual, pro-whatever, they've all been indoctrinated or introduced into the Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're all big in Hollywood. They're all big with their friends. That's their deal.
Yeah.
And so they have shifted to where it's more important for them to be invited to these Hollywood parties, have that social life there, than it is to their original roots. Yeah,
because, and Eddie, you've been in the music industry, you know this. The Nashville record labels are just subsidiaries of the LA and New York labels, right?
Yep.
And so you've got that culture trying to come in and take over the culture of country music fans.
Oh, they did it to the Christian music label.
Yeah. And, have you been to a Dixie Chicks concert lately? It's the kiss of death to go too far. And I even think Garth Brooks, when he was meddling with the whole gay rights thing, was really pushing the envelope. Because, look, we're just not going to buy it. And you know who really isn't going to buy it on the gay is the black community. They are very resistant against that, and in Hispanics. So I thank God that some cultural, ethnic groups within the United States actually have family values,
Yeah, but they're trying hard in the black community.
Yeah,
they are. The homosexual thing has been big in the black community for a long time. But, in other words, it's been known. Gays have been openly there in the black community for a long. In other words, it wasn't a closeted thing like it was in the white community, but it wasn't accepted as right.
Yeah, you look at, for instance, the Lutherans, the Episcopalians, the Methodists, largely, and how much they've just bent over backwards to just have a love fest with homosexuality. The black churches don't.
Right, but see, there's another side to that. Boy, we are really sliding into all these different areas. The sad thing about the black church, though, is that it has been, in fact, the term down low was invented specifically for this, or because of this, that the homosexual scene has been on the down low in the black community so for example, so many of your black choir directors, choir people, music ministers, and so forth have been gay on the down low, hidden secretly for a long time. In other words, everybody has suspected that they're gay, but they just never came out and said it.
I'd say society at large, you've always seen your confirmed bachelors, and things like that. And look, I'm just saying, when it gets to the point that you're going to subvert the official doctrinal beliefs of the Bible,
that's
as
true.
a denomination.
Yeah, that is true that the black church has never officially adopted it. You still don't have black churches that are officially accepting.
Yeah.
Although there's a church here in Tulsa that apparently is kind of bent.
Well, I think in every
it's a black church here in Tulsa.
Every urban community, eventually you're going to have a splinter that just says, we're going all out. But you look at the mighty United Methodist Church of the United States has been decimated, split over this thing. The Lutherans, they tried to steamroll it, and in my hometown, they all left the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America over it. And So it's an interesting thing that's going on here.
Yeah, it is.
But Eddie, I want to put a plug in. I know, you're a big fan of the Low T Center. And,
Low T Centers.
What I want to say about this, that has to do with these transgender rash of mass murders. You've got to have responsible professional guidance to get the levels right, because there are great dangers to trying to do it yourself. I know you can speak to that more than I can. Yeah,
because I'm about to shoot you at any moment. Not. I know my wife occasionally tells me, "Did you get your testosterone?"
Oh, I hate that.
Does yours do that too?
No, I'm taught. I help families to care for a loved one with severe mental illness, and we tell them the worst thing you can ever do when your loved one is really worked up about something is say, "Did you take your medicine today?" It is such a diss.
Yeah, no, but
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's just a thing my wife likes to do. Like if I'm a little bit, if I'm winning an argument, usually. If I'm winning an argument, I'm a little bit strong in my argument.
Yeah. You're bullying her.
Yeah, I'm bullying. Yeah, right. So, no, you just didn't take your estrogen. That's all.
Oh, bing.
Gotcha. Yeah. No.
But it is a serious thing.
Apparently, I'm not that up on it. I don't follow up on it. I just know that there are certain ranges and I do know this, that men were supposed to have a certain level of testosterone, which we naturally produce, but at a certain age we stop. Women are not supposed to have those levels that men have, and men are not supposed to have the estrogen levels that women have. Once you start messing with nature, things are bound to not go right. And so I think that's what you're getting at.
I am. But Eddie, if all your life your brain has learned to process and work with the hormone levels of the body, your brain's used to testosterone.
Yeah, sure.
But if you're a young woman who decides to start doping with testosterone that your brain was never designed for, it will affect behavior in ways we can't predict. I mean, to the point of going nuts, going postal, as we used to call it.
My question is, what's going to happen in, say, 10, 15 years when you get hundreds, if not thousands, of these young women who have been told that they're really boys, who believe it, have their breasts removed, have transitioned into boys and men, and then find out at the age of 18 to 25 that they're not boys and men, and now they're screwed up for the rest of their lives. They will never be able to have children. They will never be able to nurse a baby. They will never be able to do the things a woman is supposed to do and wants to do, because that biological clock doesn't necessarily shut off. That's when you start going nuts. And having suicide. You talk about suicide.
That's what I want to get to. Because suicide is the thing they hang over parents to try to bully them into going along with letting their teenager transcend and move. And I say, would you rather have a live daughter or a dead son, right? The suicide rates are highest in this particular category. People who transgender all the way through and then regret it. Those are the highest suicide rates. So what you do by going along with it is set your kid up to enter that highest suicide rate.
Because they never achieve what they think they're going to achieve.
Yeah, it's not the panacea they thought.
Nope. It's a false hope, a false dream. It's like me thinking that someday, as a kid, that I was going to end up marrying Marilyn Monroe or Halle Berry, or you name the woman, whoever it was that you thought you could ever achieve, and it's it's just not going to happen. And then you think somehow you convince yourself that you were meant for this.
Yeah.
And it's not reality.
Yeah. So the thing that they try to convince parents that you're going to avoid, the suicide risk, you're actually creating the worst suicide risk.
And see, the thing that also that really, really makes me mad is that so many doctors are nothing more than capitalists. They're just trying to make all the money because there's a lot of money in this cosmetic
Exploiting
surgery. Exploiting kids and their parents if they can.
Yeah.
Because they can make a lot of money on this.
Yep.
A lot of money. Hey, thank you all for your patience and for working with us as we transition from subject to subject, from taxes to transgender to everything. Let's talk about the latest in the whole global politics and Ukraine, which seems to be a continual situation. The latest is this young man who they found out leaked the documents and the top secret, the secrets that basically Ukraine is not winning, that Ukraine is basically getting their brains bashed in, and that they're not going to win. And essentially also, I think, basically revealing also that we have U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine.
But Biden said there'll never be U.S.
There
troops.
never will be, yeah, right. I mean, this is the most evil and deceitful administration I think we've ever had. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's so bad that I don't know what to say. I mean, and what's worse is that we have so many people that refuse to see it. We're still saying there are none so blind as those who will not see. And we've got, if you go on Twitter, are you back on Twitter yet?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I mean, can you believe the just countless all these people that were going to leave because they haven't left. They're still there. Anyway.
I'm still waiting for Rosie O'Donnell to move to Canada once Trump got elected.
But these people that sit there and just buy this line, hook, line, and sinker, all of the BS that the Biden administration, these people are trying to sell. Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad that these people don't see it and don't see the peril that they're in. Yeah, by spiritual or physical. Yeah, they don't see what is happening to us as a nation.
And in reality, to me, there's not a lick of difference between having a uniformed troop on the ground or having a CIA contractor, which is nothing more than a mercenary. Let's face it. I mean, we've had mercenaries over there, I think, for a long time. You know, it's just the plausible deniability thing that they thought about. But yeah. And then you got this, kid in the National Guard of Massachusetts that somehow gets a hold of all this.
Yeah, that's my other question. Okay. How does a kid, was he 21? Yeah. 21-year-old kid in the National Guard in Massachusetts, an enlisted man. He's not an officer, he's an enlisted man. In the National Guard in Massachusetts. Where did he get these documents? Yeah. Was he set up?
Right.
That's what I want to know. Was he set up? Because generally, a private, a corporal, or something like that at that age, doesn't just get a hold of these documents in Massachusetts.
Bradley Manning, the kid from Oklahoma, that between him and WikiLeaks.
Well, yeah, but he was actually attached to an intelligence unit overseas.
I know, but he was an enlisted kid.
Yeah. Oh, no. I worked with intelligence people in Germany. They had at an intelligence base, and they were all like E4s. Yeah, that's all they did. They were listening and spies. But in Massachusetts, I mean,
right? Yeah, but I want to say the gathering and collection of data should be completely different from the analysts, the storing, the keeping. You should have I mean, we've always had our listening posts in Italy and Cyprus where we're trying to tap into stuff, but we don't give They give us data.
Right.
We don't give those kids data.
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How did he get a hold of all of that? I still think that somehow someone else was feeding him this info. In fact, I think they've said that there are more people involved than him. It wasn't just him.
Yeah, it just tells me I think we got a systemic problem of just too much access to too many people. I mean, Edward Snowden, he was a contractor. He wasn't even an employee of a national security, of the NSA, I think he was with. And how the heck does, he have access?
What's your opinion of Edward Snowden?
Villain
or hero?
I think his motive, his ambition, his reasoning is laudable.
I agree.
I mean, when you see the highest officials lying through their teeth while they're breaking our constitutional rights, what do you do? So
see, here's what's interesting about this whole deal. Okay, you have this kid who MSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, you name them. Okay, PBS. They have dubbed him a villain, the greatest enemy of the state since you name him. Okay. All right. During the Trump administration, what's that colonel's name? The colonel who was listening to the call.
Vindman.
Colonel Vindman. Colonel Vindman was a hero.
Oh, yeah.
And so Vindman, he reveals the details of a private call between the President of the United States and a foreign leader. Okay, and he goes to the press with that.
Right.
He was a hero. This guy, all of a sudden, is a national traitor.
Yeah.
What's the difference? I'll tell you what the difference is.
Well, he was getting Trump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. I mean, to me, that is the difference.
Right. So both things are true. What Snowden release did damage our ability to collect. It put people in danger. If certain information is revealed, people who you spied on can probably fill in the blanks and find out who it was that was collecting that data.
Yeah, but see, here's my question. Here's my Chelsea Manning, Bradley. Bradley's out of jail already.
Yeah.
Right? Bradley was seen pretty much as a hero by many people. Still is.
Well, he had sympathy because he's now claiming to be a woman.
Well, not only that, but he was on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. And Snowden's not.
Yeah.
See, this again, it depends on whose traitor and whose hero you are. See, this is the problem we have as a nation right now. You take what's his name? What's the guy that helped Snowden? He's on Tucker all the time.
Glenn
Greenwald.
Greenwald, yeah.
Okay. Glenn Greenwald was a big hero when he was working with Snowden, right? He was the hero.
He's the journalist.
He's the journalist and all that. But as soon as Snowden turns out and Greenwald all of a sudden turns out to be a true liberal, I mean, listen, there are liberals and there are liberals.
Right.
Matt Taibbi is a liberal.
Well,
Matt
I call
Taibbi is not
them liberals, not leftists. To me, there's a difference.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. In fact, Everett Piper, his first book, I don't know if you know, I can't remember, something in other liberal ideas, but his whole book discusses how the true idea of liberalism is about freedom.
Yeah.
And it's actually, liberalism and other conservative ideas or something like that. But it says that what we call liberalism today is actually a conservative, is actually conservative because that's what it used to be.
Yeah. Great civil libertarians like Alan Dershowitz.
Right.
You know, that to me is the kind of liberal that I respect. And I have to say, Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Right. Exactly.
You know, the old school Democrats.
They they're true to the tenets of liberalism.
Yeah.
They want freedom. They want truth.
Mm-hmm.
They want the government to serve the people.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want BS. They do not want government power to become greater.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's all you ask for. For example, I believe I was a true liberal in the 60s and early 70s when Richard Nixon was president, and I did not like what Richard Nixon was doing to the country.
Yeah.
I just didn't agree with it, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't agree with what was going on. And so, and ever since then, I just,
Oh, I was talking to Bob Larson one time. He came into town for some radio show and, thing. And I said, no, why was it, in the 60s and the 70s, as a Christian, I identified with the left, with civil rights, with the, it's just so many things. And now I find myself in the 80s identifying as a Christian with a conservative political message. And, it spurred on a big conversation. There was no quick answer.
Just like Democrats. Democrats used to be the conservative people.
Yes,
the Democrats.
especially the Southern Democrats.
Right. Southern Democrats, and they've now become Republicans. They're turned to Republicans, and things have changed. And it is true, and it's because the ideals that each one stood for has been co-opted, I believe, by other people.
Yeah. I think you take someone like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, some of the great civil liberties Republicans. Many of them identify with libertarian principles. And Ronald Reagan said the heart and core of the conservative movement is libertarianism.
Think about it. Charlton Heston was a Democrat. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat. So many of your great Republican leaders were Democrats.
And what do they say? I didn't leave the Democrat Party. They left me.
Exactly right. And again, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is another example. He's very close friends with my daughter.
Yeah.
And she's talked to me, and I said, "What? You're friends with a Kennedy? What? Do I have to disown you?"
Yeah.
No. But then I got to see it, man. I said, "Wow, this guy
He's one of the good Kennedys."
Yeah. But anyway, back to our discussion. The whole deal with Ukraine and these revelations, it's just showing that, to me, the whole thing is a farce. The whole thing is a scam. I mean, unfortunately, America, not just America, the world is being duped, being scammed into believing something that is not right.
Yeah.
And it really pains me to see what's going on and the leaders. And you talk about slime, Macron. Macron is the slimiest person of them all.
Yeah.
Now, he's a big supporter. Oh yeah, we got to do this. And now what does he do? He runs and joins China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the others in supporting the Chinese yuan over the dollar.
Yeah. When you're a European country, though, I tell you, I was talking to a neighbor this morning. He and his son last year went to Germany visit. They were actually down your neck of the woods, Nuremberg area. And somebody's driving around. They had to go get gas and everything. And all of a sudden, everybody's out of gasoline, all the gas stations and all of a sudden you don't have the commodities that drive your industry and commerce. It's kind of hard to be principled when you don't have food on people's table.
Yeah, but you made the bed.
I know.
You made the bed. Now you got to lie in it, which is stupid. And they're still supporting Biden, and Biden's still pushing this stuff. And it's something that you've heard firsthand by what's going on over there. See, we don't hear this. You won't hear this on NBC, ABC, CBS. Right. They're not going to tell you about that picture. The Europeans know what's going on, but even this is what's so crazy. They have been so indoctrinated to hate Donald Trump. They think he is the devil. They think he is Hitler manifest in the United States now.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff, because the global media. Now, there's one place that Donald Trump is still seen positively in. Africa.
Yeah.
This is what's so funny.
Oh.
Black Americans don't like Donald Trump. Black Africans love Trump.
Oh, let me add to that. I mean, that's very true. But India, God, he's a hero when he went over there. Hungary, Brazil. Now, Brazil's very divided.
Right.
But half of them is absolutely in love with the guy.
Yeah.
And because Bolsonaro,
even Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They like Donald Trump.
Oh, they respect the heck out of the guy.
Yeah.
They have no respect for Joe Biden.
No.
And Trump was absolutely right when he said, you start buying that Russian, that pipeline goes on, you're going to be in trouble, Europe. And he was right. And then when he called out Merkel and the rest of them for not funding NATO like they committed to, I mean, let's face it, he called him out. They hate him.
You know, it's so funny. Do you remember that meeting they had and the Germans the Germans were all laughing?
Yeah.
The Germans were laughing at Trump.
Oh, he was speaking at the UN, and the German delegation was mocking him on the floor at the UN.
Right. And then there's who's laughing now?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he called it. He knows them. And they don't deserve respect. See, the Germans, being half of one.
Well, you were born in Germany.
Yeah.
You're a native German.
I was born a German. And they don't have respect. They don't know how to respect people. They're prideful. They're still just as prideful as they always were. Yeah. And that was their downfall. That's what led to the fall of the Third Reich. The Third Reich means kingdom. They considered it the Third Kingdom is what he was trying to. Yeah. You had Greece, Rome, and then the Third Kingdom was supposed to be the German kingdom,
The Aryan.
The Aryan kingdom, yeah. So that's what Hitler was trying to build, the world kingdom out of the Aryans. But they still think somehow that they're superior, and they thought that the U.S. was nothing. And see, this is why they were so happy that they wanted to get rid of Trump, and they're so happy with Biden because when once and they loved Obama because Merkel was the leader of the free world for a while. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah.
Angela Merkel, she at all the meetings, she was it, and Obama was middle.
Yeah.
And then here comes the clown that we have now, and so I mean, we're that much. We're probably about fifth or sixth now. We got everybody in Europe ahead of him, and so, which is so crazy that you got all these idiots on the alphabet networks talking about reestablishing America's place in the world. Yeah, we're the behind of the world. The rear end of the world now. Yeah, and they just. I don't know how they can live with themselves. Yep. And until the people rise up and say enough of this, they need to just quit totally watching MSNBC, let it go down to 50 people watch MSNBC, and Joe Scarborough and his girlfriend there just need to just get them off the air totally. That's when it'll get real. That's when it'll get real.
I agree.
So. Hey, you have some local stuff you want to deal with?
I do. One quick thing, and then I want to get into kind of a big story. I was at the Capitol Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, you were talking about Newsmax earlier. Yesterday, T.W. Shannon was on in the morning, and he was giddy.
He was giddy.
If you remember, he was one of the early supporters of Trump, 2015, at the famous ORU Stadium. He was there, And yet, when it came time for the primary for a U.S. Senator to replace Inhofe, who did Trump endorse? Mark Wayne Mullen. TW got dissed. So TW yesterday announces a new poll was just released in Oklahoma, and Trump's lead is down to single digits to DeSantis. And man, you should have seen the smile. You know TW's got a winning smile. And it was in full display.
And so he is now supporting DeSantis.
He didn't say, but boy, he sure looked like he was happy. Because you got Trump, I think it was like 38% and then 29% for DeSantis.
What was Trump again?
38 to 29.
38 to, oh, so Trump is only 9% ahead.
Ahead.
Only 9%.
So, but the way TW said, his lead has shrunk to single digits in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
In ultra red Oklahoma.
Single digits, 9%. That's still pretty good.
Right. And then, I
guess I better get out to work for the.
I think we need to fill the ORU Stadium again.
Yeah, we need to fill that ORU Stadium.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, and by the way, TW has only won elections in a little house district in Lawton. Okay? Keep that in mind. For all of his glitz and glamour,
right,
he's only been elected by a little district in Lawton with Found Holland's help.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, I'm not making friends with TW. Right
no, listen, let me say, TW, I like TW. Mm-hmm. There's some things he needs to learn.
Yeah.
I won't share what those are right now, but he needs to learn some things.
So
I think he's a good guy. He just needs to learn some things.
So I wrote quite an article this morning. We were talking yesterday. I said I'll get it ready and then I'm going to bring it up at the show.
Well, let me say one of the things TW needs to learn is that when he says he's coming on our program, he needs to show up.
See, that's how you lost the election. Dude.
That's it.
You didn't keep your word.
There it was.
You know what? Everybody, Ryan Walters came here, he won. Mark Wayne Mullen came here, he won. What does that tell you? All right. So, anyway, and then Governor Stitt actually had UMC his big rally. See, people know how to associate with winners.
And our county commissioner.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, Kelly Dunkerley. So, I was at the
But he had already won, hadn't he? He was already the county commissioner when he came in, I think. I think it was after.
Right. We actually endorsed him largely because people were dissing on a mutual friend, an associate of his who's been a big help and supporter, a good godly man, who's now our state representative, Tidwell. No.
I know who you're talking about. We can't think of his name. Good friend, great friend. Who we can't think of his name, right? Mark. Oh my goodness.
No, it's almost,
It's all right. We'll think of it.
Anyway, so I'm at the Capitol. I first called OCPA. They had me come in right away and get briefed with them on where this tuition tax credit is. I'm telling you, when I got to the Capitol after meeting with them, I was shocked to see the difference between how public education was viewed 2018, when everybody wanted that little Apple logo of endorsement by the teachers PAC. And now, I mean, people I would almost call rhinos, very moderate Republicans, who are all for the teachers' end. This is a quote said, I'm ready for it to just explode and burn to ashes and rebuild the education from scratch.
Wow.
They are that, because we led the nation in 2018 in funding increases to public ed.
Right.
And then 2019, we did some more.
And they're still not happy.
And what have we got for it? We got pornography in the libraries. We got critical race theory being taught all over the state. And we've got transgender crap. And then people using whatever bathroom they want without, So, and then, walkouts and COVID policy is all about what's good for the teachers, not what's good for the kids. So, all of these things combined.
Yeah.
And remember what the media said in the polls going up to the election last year. Ryan Walters going down to defeat. And he won by a huge margin.
Yes.
So what's happened as a result of Stitt's reelection and Ryan Walters in there is the legislature gets it. The people are ready for real change. Because we have money right now. Our state legislature is awash in money. We have maxed out the rainy day fund, and it's largely because the oil prices are high. Because much of our tax money...
And going up.
Yeah. Our tax money is coming from the oil production tax. So we are really massively funding public education. And on top of that, we've got this new thing called the parental choice tax credit. And it's already passed the House in original form. The Senate made pretty radical changes to it.
See, okay, let me interject here.
Yeah.
Here's my deal. Mm-hmm. Here's what really pains me.
Okay.
Okay. I get so upset with the teachers and the teacher lobby because I personally am not a fan of private schools.
Okay.
I think we've talked about that.
Yeah,
I think you know that. Okay. Mm-hmm. I am a public school guy.
Okay.
I just hate our public schools.
Yeah.
The way they are. Everything you just said that they've done with our money makes mm-hmm. me hate the public schools. Mm-hmm. They have the opportunity. The legislature gave them every opportunity mm-hmm. to improve and to turn these schools into winning schools. Mm-hmm. And what do? They took it as rope to hang themselves with.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is stupid.
No.
So this is what really irks me. I do not want to hear, I get on Twitter, I see on Facebook, it's usually the husband of some school teacher. Well, my wife works hard. Okay, so your wife works hard. Somebody's not working very hard.
Oh, yeah.
So your wife needs to get in a position where she can get with these people who aren't working because all they're doing is working to undermine people like your wife. And this is the type thing that has to happen. We have got to change education. Listen, if the public schools I went to public school. I graduated from public school. Everybody I went to school with I went to Catholic school and hated every minute of it. I went to public school, loved it. Okay. My parents couldn't keep me out of school. If I asked for a day off, my mother said, sure, take a day off. But that happened once in 12 years of school. It was some new movie I wanted to see, and my mother had no problem because she knew that if I wanted a day off, I deserved a day off because you could not keep me out of school. And so that's how kids have to be. School needs to be something kids love to go to. And generally, my kids, I never had a problem getting my kids to go to school. My kids enjoyed going to school. They rode the school bus, until like they were juniors in high school. Mm-hmm. And I think a couple of them one of them I think rode through the 12th grade. Yeah. So, but here's the deal. We've got to get to the point where we're offering them more than CRT. CRT is CRAP in my book. Yeah. We send our kids to learn mathematics, English for one thing, not Ebonics or Okie. Okay. Mm-hmm. We want them to learn how to read, how to communicate. We want them to understand science, mathematics, critical thinking, and not critical race theory. We want them actual critical thinking. And this is not what's being taught in our public schools. And until we get there, we need to offer an alternative to hopefully, the reason that we support alternative schools and schooling is, in my thinking, to hopefully snap these public schools
to compete.
Yes,
that's everybody at the legislature said that.
That's the only reason. If the public schools would just wake up, understand that, and start competing instead of griping and whining and complaining and trying to use every excuse like, well, my wife is a good teacher and she works and we're undeserved. If you would quit that and start going to your school board meetings and quit electing these school board people that are jokes, then maybe you could get
just totally take as gospel whatever the superintendent tells them. Exactly. That's the problem.
That's the start. Fire that one and find somebody that really cares about old-fashioned teaching instead of modern teaching methods out of Harvard and Yale and Princeton.
I went to public school all the way through in the 70s. I graduated in 79. The education I got would be on par with some of the top prep schools in Oklahoma. And I would say you probably would have a similar situation.
Probably not.
You know, well, you went to Dodd schools, too. Those are good, right?
Department of Defense.
Yeah. But, those are some...
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've heard good things about it.
Okay, well.
But anyway, the other thing I got at the Capitol was they in no way want this to reflect how they view the profession of the classroom teacher. They got immense respect for those who actually spend their day with kids, actually trying to make a difference. It's the whole bureaucracy of administration. And the bigger the school district, the greater percentage of the budget is eaten up in bureaucracy before it ever gets to the classroom. So the funding efforts to help public ed is not only going to be in raising the pay of the classroom teacher, but also entering stipends for merit pay. And Ryan Walters and I talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago about how you set that up so it's equitable, so it's not favoritism. And that I suggested that he encouraged districts to set up boards of retired teachers to sit as those merit pay people, you know, who figure, okay, who's doing a good job? Because you can't snow them. They've seen the system. Well, anyway, so the biggest issue that I dealt with was something that nobody seems to have caught. Everybody I talked to, and I talked to dozens at the Capitol, legislators had done this, was the streamline of the money. Let me put it this way. The money driving this in the lobbying effort, I'm convinced, is coming from the private school associations, these accrediting organizations. The state has an accrediting system, but there's also some private ones for Christian schools, for college preparatory and things like that. And they're kind of setting themselves up as the gatekeeper, and that's a problem for me. So I really have pushed for the non-accredited school, because I taught at a Christian school in Minneapolis, right at a college, that would refuse to get accredited because they considered a ministry of their church and didn't want to bow the knee to state over their ministry. But the bigger issue is, Eddie, when I talked to Dave Rader about it, he was like a light really kid, and Jeff Boatman, a couple of the legislators from here in Tulsa. As soon as this gets passed, like Boatman, I said, you know, Regent University, Regent Prep School is in your district, Jeff. And by the way, I think you're in his district. They've already got a waiting list. When this kicks in, it's going to be a massively long waiting list. He agreed. There's going to be such a consumer demand for more classrooms in these private schools and new private schools all over the state. The problem is, once you get those started, which will take time and planning, and then establish enough credibility so that you get your accreditation in order for a parent to get their very first refund, tax credit. So now you got the established schools that help push this through with their lobbying. They're going to be getting subsidies that the new guys don't get, which is a protectionism that's going on. I hope you guys are following. I'm trying to be real simple about this. And that is going to be a barrier. So Ryan Walters told me the homeschoolers get a smaller amount based on actual receipts. The prep schools are going to get massively larger tax credits. But the little school starting up, or the unaccredited, unaffiliated, gets nothing. And I finally got a hold of the Senate Chairman Adam Pugh, and he was very receptive. And I said, you've got to give them at least the same thing you're giving homeschoolers. I think we're going to get that. So here's where it stands right now. House wrote the bill, passed it, Senate changed it radically, and now send it back to the House. The House has to either accept the Senate's version without changes or reject it. If they reject it, it goes to what we call a conference committee. Leaders from both the House and the Senate come up with one bill. It gets an up or down in both. The current language is the Senate language, and Governor Stitt said, I cannot accept at least one portion of that, where they said any family making more than $250,000 gets nothing. Now all of a sudden we are turning it into a welfare program, because it's means testing, and you can't do that,
right?
Because I mean, let's face it, Governor Stitt with 6 kids, and if they're each costing $15,000 a year for 6 kids, now almost half of your income is going out in tuition.
Right.
It's just asinine, that thinking. But again, as you know,
it's Democrat thinking.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's some Democrat came up with that.
I'm really concerned about the lobbyists in that. And then I was talking to another blogger, Jameson Fott, son of State Rep George Fott, a former state rep, writes Muskogee Political. He said, remember when Obama came up with a federal tax credit of $7,000 if you buy an electric vehicle? As soon as that got implemented, the cost of electric vehicle went up $7,000. So the provider said, we get to eat that. That's our tax credit, not yours.
Right.
And I'm concerned, especially when you got someone, and I don't mean to pick on Regent. I mean, my grandkids love Regent. They're going to have a hard time resisting when they got that big of a waiting list. Say, hey, why don't we give ourselves more of a cushion?
Yeah, see, that's always the deal. And so there needs to be some sort of way of figuring out what it should cost. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, then it's up to the school,
Yeah, I think you're going to find modest yet successful private schools that can operate completely on just that tax, especially if it's a $7,500 per year.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be done. I taught at an ACE school, Accelerated Christian Education. It was as cheap as it comes. I think it was like $800.
And see, that's still though about $5,000 less than public school.
Yeah, let me break it down.
Because of the extracurricular, they get the extra money for.
Okay, so the local public schools, brick and mortar, I'll just throw out averages. The state legislature gives them somewhere around $55,000 to $6,000. Local county taxes gives them maybe another $2,000 or $3,000. And then they get some federal money that might be a couple thousand. Tulsa Public Schools, if you break it down, probably about $10,000 per kid. I'm just giving you rough numbers. And yet Epic was getting half of that, right, for a virtual charter school. Right. If we're giving these families a tax credit of half what we would other guys give to their public school district, or their public school district would get through all the various means, I consider this a win for the legislature. They will be saving money this way, except for this crazy average daily attendance.
But see, here's the other thing that people don't ever think about with the public schools. Okay, so you're talking about 10 and a half. Does that include bond money?
Well, no. See, bond money's not operational.
Exactly. But see, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So then when you talk bond money, mm-hmm. we're talking extra for the buses, stadiums.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Books and
Jinx just got a big stadium. We need a bigger stadium.
Yeah, we got to
keep up with the.
We got the south end, we got the north end, and the east and west side, and then we need another level, and why don't we put a roof? Why don't we make a domed stadium? Yeah,
You heard of Keeping Up with the Joneses? It's called Keeping Up with the Jinxes.
Yeah, the Jinxes. Yeah. and the Owasos. And,
Yeah.
but see, so when you figure in the bond money,
Yeah.
then it becomes
That's
ridiculous.
true.
Then you're actually talking about
Yeah,
15,000 per
And
kid.
because you're right, to compare apples and apples, what it costs in tuition at these private schools, they got to fund their capital improvements out of that money.
Out of that as well, right?
That is, I'm glad you said that. But in order for this to grow, there has to be a streamlined system for new schools to come in and get qualified for this. And they need that language to be better spelled out. Here's the problem. You know how whenever something new like this is put in, the managing of it is always put under some state agency. This is not under the Department of Education. That's good and that's bad because they put this all under the Oklahoma Tax Commission, which they handle taxes better than the Education Department, but they're leaving it up to this tax commission to decide who is a qualified accrediting organization. And I'm sorry, but the tax commission doesn't answer that unless they bring in some people from education. And if they do that, and I'm just saying they got to spell it out because this could turn into protectionism if we don't do it right. And this could turn into a fight of rural versus urban because right now most accredited private schools are in wealthy suburbs. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, it is something, and I feel for the rural schools, and somebody needs to. There should be a formula that they can work out, and it's not insurmountable because probably. I mean, here's how I would look at it: you get a certain amount, you look at all of your suburban schools, and then you carve out a percentage, like a surplus amount, 2%, 3%. You take that amount. And then you divvy it up among your rural schools. Say, okay, here's extra amount for certain improvements and things and all that. That way, you keep them. You let them know. Look, we're not going to forget about you. Mm-hmm. You send us your list, what you need, or let's say you got Tulsa, the Tulsa County and. Well, not just Tulsa, but Wagner, Tulsa County, the metropolitan area, okay?
Yeah.
So included in our area, you're going to have Glenpool, Beggs, and blah, blah, within a certain radius or whatever. Mm-hmm. And within this, we want to take care of the surrounding schools. So out of us, we're going to take out a certain amount, and then we're going to look after, like say Broken Arrow, for example, can look after Coweta, Catoosa, Wagner, okay, and then Union, they look after Sapulpa. Jenks looks after, I mean, there's ways of doing it. If you really care, and you really want to be fair and you want to do things right, you forego that new aquatic center, you forego the new, dome or whatever. Owasso takes care of. Claremore or whatever. If Claremore needs it, Claremore may have more money than all of them, with what's out there. But I'm just saying there's ways of doing this that I think in the end can serve everybody's need. But the bottom line is, see, the big thing, I got into an argument with a person, I think it was on Twitter, and the argument I always get into with people on Twitter is they're always concerned about the teacher. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, wait a minute, that's not the purpose of education. Yeah. Education is not about taking care of the teacher. Mm-hmm. Education is about teaching kids.
Yeah.
Now, if your wife, your husband, your aunt, your uncle, whoever is not making it, teaching, then they need to find another career.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a vocation. Your whole purpose needs to be because she loves teaching children and teaching that next generation. I have a daughter-in-law who teaches special needs children. Mm-hmm. That's all she does. Mm-hmm. And she loves doing it.
Yeah.
It's tough work. She does it online. She does it kind of like an Epic. It's in California.
Yes.
But she does it online with these, and I listened one morning as she was dealing with a couple of these. She does hour sessions with these, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the patience it takes. You know? But she loves it. She's good at it.
Sure.
And in fact, one family, wealthy family out there, they try to hire her away from this company she works for, just so that she can be a private tutor for their child.
Sure.
She wouldn't do it. And, because she feels there are more kids that need it.
Yeah.
And so, but that is a calling. I could never do it.
Yeah.
I could never do it. Mm-hmm. But that's what she loves doing.
Yeah.
And so, you've got to, if you want to be a teacher, know what you're getting into it. As Jesus said, count the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
And one last thing on the Capitol. Well, actually, a couple little things.
Yeah.
I actually kind of had a little bit of absence there. Now, they know who I am, right? I mean, the Sooner Politics thing has just kind of, I can't just go there unannounced because there are people from all over. Hey, Dave, good to see you. You've been a while, you know. But regardless of that, what I want to say to Oklahomans, you know who's the most effective lobbyist at the Capitol? A mother pushing a stroller. They are terrified. Terrified. I was talking to Sean Roberts about it. He says everybody fears that some woman will be seen bawling her eyes out, walking out saying, "You're murdering my child." Because they don't know how to deal with that. There's a group, the vaccine choice people, because a lot of these are moms with autistic kids, and they at least look at it saying, funny, it was right after the series of shots banned, right? And I don't know. I don't want to get into that argument, but I want to say they are the most powerful group there. They are the mama bears. That's what they're called, the mama bears. Oklahomans for Health and Parental Rights is the name of the group. Liza Greavy, Nowhere You Graduate, is the head of that. And I've told her for years, she didn't realize how powerful she is. She knows now. And because everybody wants her endorsement when they run, you know. So I want to encourage people, go to the Capitol. Find out who your state rep and your senator is. And you know what? In their offices, you get to butt in line ahead of the paid lobbyists. Because the mantra there is a constituent always comes first. The rest of them, they figure, you don't vote for me. This mama, she and her husband vote for me. Are these guys, you know, and it's really true. I'm proud as can be of them. And by the way, your friend you've been debating, our favorite Democrat, Andy Fugate, said to say hi. I stopped by his office, and he and I get along great. We do. And he had great regard for you, and he enjoys mixing it up.
So much that he blocked me.
Yeah,
I don't hear him or see him on Twitter anymore.
You know,
maybe now he'll unblock me if he hears this, and we'll start debating again.
That's actually happened because he used to do these Facebook Live events, and he was very, very nervous around me when other people could hear. But there's times he'd pick up the phone and call me, and we'd have some great conversation. He'd listen to whatever he said.
Do you know what? I just thought about, maybe he didn't, because where we were debating, I think I know, it was on Channel 6's page.
Yeah.
And maybe Channel 6 blocked me. That may be what it is. KOKI TV. It's KOKI. Isn't it?
You're a disgruntled former employee of the radio station.
Well, no, I was never with them when Channel 6
I know, but I'm just throwing it in.
But maybe that's what it, maybe the
postal.
TV station blocked me, maybe it was them.
But
Andy,
I will say,
I apologize. If it wasn't you, it was them. So.
Okay, but around a bunch of other people, I've seen they've kind of careful what I'd say in front of their big supporters. Yeah. But when it's just me and them, I've been treated good. I have great rapport with them. And there's times, and Andy will tell you this, I sided with him against Democrats on a number of issues. So
you mean against Republicans?
Against Republicans, yeah. And
traitor.
Listen, I'm for the little guy.
I know.
And I told Andy, it's not always right versus left. A lot of times it's big guy versus little guy.
Well, it's right versus wrong is what it really means to be.
The old mantra of KFAQ.
Yeah. Hey, I want to finish up today, though, by saying that it's time to fight, people. Roll up the sleeves and gird your loins. It's bad. It's bad. The things we're seeing, it's back to where Abraham Lincoln quoted the scripture that a house divided cannot stand.
Yes.
The house is divided.
It is.
And we're going to have to, as it's divided, we're going to have to take a stand. You can't have your straddling the fence. And too many Christians, too many conservatives are trying to play nice and hope that things will work out. It's not going to work that way. The other side plays too dirty. They're counting on you giving up. They're counting on you not caring as much as they do. And we can't do that. We have got to, if you believe in right, if you believe in truly justice for all, you're going to have to take a stand. And here's how we do it. First, if you're a believer, we do it on our knees. We pray. Mm-hmm. But I believe the greatest prayer is the prayer of praise. Begin thanking God, praising God. Mm-hmm. I direct you to 2 Chronicles 14. Read that chapter. 20. 2 Chronicles, what is it? I usually know it. 2 Chronicles 20. 2 Chronicles 20. It's when Jehoshaphat had the people stand. They were surrounded by the enemy, and they had no hope. There was no hope. What he did, he called them together, and they just basically began praising God. He sent out the singers, the praisers. They fasted, but then he sang out the worshipers, and they praised God, and God won the battle. And that's what we have to do. And in Psalm 149, if you read that, there's no greater weapon that we have than praise. So begin praising and thanking God. Also, if you can find it on Amazon, it's an older book. It was very instrumental to me in my first year as a believer. It's called Prison to Praise by Merlin Carruthers. Prison to Praise. Get that book. And then once you get those, praise God, begin praising and thanking him in the midst of everything. No matter how bad it looks, always give thanks. In everything, give thanks. Okay? But no matter how bad it looks, praise him, give thanks. But then don't be afraid. Speak out. Stand against this stuff. Don't give in. Don't give in. Don't give in. Write. Speak. And speak what you know to be true. Speak what you know to be right. And I think we can win this battle. Mm-hmm. We can win it. We don't have to have physical weapons. We have the weapons of our warfare are spiritual. They're mighty through God. And it's his battle. And we'll start seeing things change. We'll start seeing people replaced. I believe we'll see people die. We'll see people on the other side just start dying and getting sick, disappearing, things like that. And it'll be because of our prayer and our faith. So anyway, that's how I'm going to finish today. And I hope that you guys enjoy listening to us go off and discuss all of these things. I know we don't give you all of the latest information, but we do dig a little deep into certain things, and we hope you learn a lot. If you want to get in touch with us, it's Fresh Black.Coffee at gmail.com, freshblackcoffee at gmail.com. You can write Dave and myself. The website, freshblack.coffee, freshblack.coffee, if you want to.
And our Facebook.
And our Facebook.
Yeah, join the discussion. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, until next week then, have a good time. The springtime is finally around. It's been some beautiful weather, and we hope it continues to be so. And we're gonna finish, I think, with Salvador again. I've been really enjoying that the last few weeks. So God bless everybody. Have a great week.
Well, it's another day, and I'm thinking about the things I want to say, but my thoughts are like clouds drifting far away. Well, I admit I doubt sometimes that I'm on your mind, just another face, looking up from the crowd, searching for a way to talk to you now. Sometimes I feel small in the scope of it all, and then I'm reminded again that the very same God that dreamt of the ocean and set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. He hears what I say when I pray. Oh, when I pray. I thank you for the faith that keeps me inspired, that tells me every day how much you desire just to hear from me. I can't tell you how much that means. It's so hard to conceive that the very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. He hears what I say when I pray, and I believe that you're with me, Lord, when I'm on my knees. Your timeless mercy rescues me. The very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. He hears what I say. The very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he